We do apologize for the late start of the program, but good afternoon. You're watching ABC News. This is ABC Midday. I am Eric Chinibwatmelo. Coming up in the headlines. President John Dramani Mahama's promise for a lean government is creating discomfort and dashing the hopes of many lobbying for ministerial appointment. But how will the party mend the cracks with these high expectations? We will be engaging some experts on this conversation. Still on keeping to the promise, it is advisable for the government to consider merging some ministries or scrapping them to achieve its agenda. Maybe perhaps when speaking to an expert on this matter, we would know how best this would go, and some ministries demanding some huge budget allocation. Also in the bulletin, stakeholders are to be engaged in a conference to dialogue in improving our educational sector. The National Parent Association has been speaking to the gaps. Later on the international front, wildfire raging across Los Angeles have claimed at least 10 lives and destroyed nearly 10,000 structures. Stay with us, we have details of these and more coming up shortly. Welcome back again to the program. You're streaming live on our YouTube platform, ABC News GH. Follow us with your thought and comment. We would appreciate it. Once again, for more news, do visit our website, www.abcnewsgh.com. On to our first story. President John Dramani Mahama has acknowledged the immense pressure and high expectations surrounding his administration's commitment to appoint a lean government. Speaking at a presidential dinner in Accra on Wednesday, January 8, Mr. Mahama highlighted the challenges of managing public expectations while ensuring effective governance, quoting, "You wouldn't want to be in my shoes when you've promised to appoint only 60 ministers, yet thousands of people are sending their CVs. Then maybe some people will be disappointed," unquote. The president said and also stressed that while the size of his government is an important consideration, the success of his administration depends on contributions from all sectors of society, not just ministerial appointment. Well, yesterday in a communique, President John Dramani Mahama announced his first set of ministerial appointments with Dr. Ato Kaiser-Forson, John Jinapor and Dominic Ayine grabbing key positions. A statement issued by the presidency on January 9 said President Mahama has submitted the ministerial nominations to the Speaker of Parliament, Alban Kingsford Bagbin, in accordance with Article 78 of the 1992 Constitution of Ghana. And on that, the names of Honorable Dr. Kaiser-Forson as Minister for Finance Designate, Honorable John Abdullahi Jinapor, Minister for Energy Designate, Honorable Dominic Ayine, Attorney General and Minister for Justice Designate. After this release, a lot of discussion is going on about whether he can walk his talk by sticking to the 60 cap, especially with the number of ministers have as well, and 16 regions. Now, this is of great concern of some stakeholders who have proposed to merge of some of the ministries and scrapping of some. But the question is which ministry can be scrapped or merged and who stands to be appointed without being disappointed with President Mahama vow to maintain a lean government. We will be having an extensive conversation with the expert, but before that, let's walk you through some of the ministries that are expected to be functioning. Perhaps we put that on your screens quite in a jiffy, but we do know that yesterday the president released some list and three key personalities. But just as you see on your screens, the ministries we do have in Ghana: Ministry of Education, responsible for education in Ghana. They are solely responsible for that sector. Also is the Ministry of Health, responsible for health in Ghana. Ministry of Trade and Industry, as we do know, they are responsible for our trade and our industry in Ghana, as well as the Ministry of Interior, is responsible for the Ghana Police Service, Ghana Prisons Service, and other agencies. So particularly, they are in charge of our interior sector. Ministry of Local Government, which a lot of people have said that it should be merged into certain sectors, is although a ministry that is under serious criticism. We also do have rural development, responsible for local government and rural development in Ghana. Again, we do have Ministry of Justice, responsible for justice in Ghana. Ministry of Fishes and Fisheries, I beg your pardon, and aqua development, responsible for fisheries and agriculture development in Ghana. Another, ministry that some people have said should be scrapped, but we'll engage on that subject. Again, we do have Ministry of Business Development, responsible for business development in Ghana, as well as Ministry of Employment and Labor Relations, responsible for employment and labor relations in Ghana. Well, as you see again, Ministry of Information, they are responsible for information services in Ghana. So some of the agencies under this particular Ministry of Information include the Ghana News Agency, the Ghana Broadcasting Corporation, and the Information Service Department, and the Ministry of Trade and Industry, also responsible for the industry in Ghana. Just as I said yesterday, the president elected or appointed some key personalities. Three amongst them was one from the Finance Ministry, again from the Judicial Service, if I'm supposed to categorize that, again Energy, Honorable John Jinapor, and it has created a lot of conversations as to the number of size of government that this particular government. You are all reminded that he also has promised to run a lean government with just 16 appointees. But we do have on the phone governance expert Mr. Amon Kotain Isaka for a conversation. Sir, good afternoon. Thanks for your time this afternoon once again.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Well, great conversation that has sparked just a day after the president released some of his appointees. But there have been pressure also mounting on the president. But given the pressure on the president right now to limit the size of his cabinet, as he said, he's running with a 60, ministers. But how can the balance between the public expectations with the need to have an effective governance structure be greeted or married with these 60 appointees, if I'm supposed to put it?
Well, we are looking at the expenditure of central government as in relation to people who want to be part of JM's government. As you know, the Constitution says 50% of ministers must come from Parliament. And so he will be compelled to nominate 60% from Parliament and the rest from outside Parliament. Yes, there are a lot of people. I understand people are still sending CVs, and he has cause to complain. It's normal because everybody wants to be part of the game. And people are willing to serve. So he must, the party must come up with a strategy to cool down people's expectations, and then let them understand why he wants to work with 60 ministers.
Mr. Kotain, yesterday again, the president made mention of the fact that he promised 60 appointees. However, he still is receiving quite a dozen or a deluge of applications and CVs. But how feasible is it that he's 60 ministers would be working effectively, given the complex government need of the country? As we do know, we have 16 regions, and what factors should be considered in this process of creating a lean but functional government?
Yeah, I know he's going to merge a lot of ministries and then maintain the 60 as he has said. That is for a fact. He's not going to add 5 or even 2. No. He's going to maintain the 60. And as for those who are applying or sending their CVs, including myself, we will continue sending it anyway.
Doc, are you saying you've also applied to be appointed by the president?
That was on the lighter side.
Great.
Yes, but the issue at stake is we all want to serve Mother Ghana. And all of us cannot serve Mother Ghana at the same time. So he and his team must see through the number of applications and then reassure those who have high expectations to cool down and then probably further explain why he needs to run the 60 ministers.
Doc, again, I like the fact that you said that he would either have to merge some of them, but if I'm supposed to pick your thought on merging, which sectors is he supposed to or likely to consider in merging?
Well, for instance, agric. Under Nana-Addo, we had about 5 or 6 ministers. I mean, 6, 2 with the main minister and then Deputy Minister for Horticulture, Deputy Minister for Fisheries, Deputy Minister for... I mean, why? It's only one Minister for Agric, and that should be it. Education and sports. In some jurisdictions, education and sports go together. We had Minister for Railways, Minister for Transport, Minister for Aviation. We can put all together. There are so many mergers that can happen. So don't worry. Let's see. I'm sure they know what to do.
This morning, we did have a conversation with the former MP for Anya Sotio, Honorable Kisi Adumako. He said that perhaps, even though the outgone administration was criticized for having quite a huge, appointees, they still had challenges. However, he described Mahama's 60 ministers as if I'm just supposed to quote exactly what he's, a miniature government, that's what he said. But I just want to find out from you, from a governance perspective, having 16 appointees to run quite a huge government in terms of we having some sectors, including 16 regions in Ghana, how effective or efficient would these 60 appointees work?
That depends on how effective the 120 were. Were they effective? Because the results does not indicate that. So I don't see why we want to be burdening ourselves with 60 or 100 or 50 ministers. They're supposed to perform a function. The central government has a policy, and they are supposed to implement the policies. Actions and inactions of these ministers will have effect on his government, and that is it. So we shouldn't bother ourselves too much over whether they are 60, 30, 20. I don't see any problem over this.
Again, I would want to find out your thought on having a small cabinet. What impact would this be, especially when we know that we have some critical areas like the health, education, and local governance? As we do speak right now, we know that the president has scrapped especially the local governance system. But what's the risk of underfunding or satisfying these key sectors?
Did he say he has scrapped the local government system?
No, I mean, as he has apparently, the
revocation
exactly,
of the,
yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but that is normal, the Constitution or the LI Act 936 allows the president to appoint MMDCs, and the same president disappoint them. So at a given time, he must disappoint them, and that is what he has done. I don't see any problem over that. The next is about miniature. Looking at the Constitution says that the cabinet shouldn't be more than 25 and less than 19. So I don't see where the problem is actually.
Okay.
The 25, even if he stretches them to 25 plus the 16 regional ministers, he will still have some space for other ministers within the 60.
Just as we're speaking about the local government sector, perhaps I would want to take your thought on his decision to revoke these MMDCs and appointment. Doc, I mean, what really would be the reasons, and perhaps just your thought on that conversation before maybe I can engage you on other side of the conversation as well.
Well, you see, Nana Addo appointed those MMDCs, and he has lost power. So even if JM allows them to stay in office, the MMDC themselves will not be happy going to work. You know, I mean, cognitive dissonance will get into them, and they might be, there are a lot of people who will be calling them names, cat calls, and all that. They are anti politically. So their spirit will not even be there to motivate them to go to work. So the best thing is to lay them off. We did that. Professor Mills allowed MMDCs to stay in office for 6 months, and some of them were not even going to office. So the report on that was not good for a president to allow MMDC who were appointed by another president to stay in office.
Doc, again, there have been some conversations and advice that the government should do away with deputy regional ministers. And maybe your thought on that, because it has come to light that these are not so much of importance, and they don't really function if put in positions. Maybe.
Yeah, but that is why he decided to work with 60 ministers. But there are some areas
but Doc, wouldn't the tax be so much on them?
No. But he has been in office for some time. He's been there before. He's been a minister himself, so he knows how he knows the environment. I mean, actions and inactions of his ministers will be controlled by himself. I mean, and other top executives. So he understands why deputy ministers are not needed. But I'm quite sure there are some areas that deputy ministers will be appointed, not a wholesale cancellation of the deputy minister positions. No.
So he did the right thing, I guess.
Of course, yes.
Doc, again, let me find out your thought on the looming attacks, especially in some institutions. And just as we do speak right now, there have been some people who have been vandalizing stuff in certain institutions. Just yesterday, we did report that the Harbours Authority has been ransacked by some individuals, the Babayara Sports Stadium also by Essence. But the question about winner takes all has come back to light again. Listening to these individuals, to say that their government is in power, and whoever that is occupying those positions in that ministry or sector or institution should go and they occupy the office again. What must be done in situations like this, and the winner takes all conversation again that we keep having?
Well, the Constitution, there's nothing in the Constitution that allows winner take all. It's been a practice, a convention by ourselves. But this issue of tax or NDC members attacking some institutions must cease. People must be talked to, not to engage in that, because it will not help all of us. Yes, I'm sure they are coming back at Nanado's appointees. If you recall, when Nanado took office, the excesses of his winning elections were just too much for all of us to manage. And even his own appointees were attacked by his vigilante groups. People are learning from that, and they also want to venge their anger at people who took offices just because NPP won, for them to also check out from those offices. But they cannot be doing that. I'm sure the party will have to step in and stop them from doing that.
We appreciate that you could speak with us this afternoon, sir.
It's a pleasure.
Mr. Amokoto Isaka is a governance expert, and he's been engaged in this conversation. But that's not all. We also continuing with some of the ministers under each administration. We do know that in 2019, the number of ministers, 7 under the Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo government, jumped from 110 to 125 ministers, beautifully displayed on your screens, which came under serious, I should say, criticisms. Later, it followed with the announcement, as you see on the screen. So the total ministers under Nana Addo government in 2017 and 2013 was 123. Total ministers under Nana Addo government again in 2021 to 2024 relatively dropped into 110. And under President John Dramani Mahama, who said during 2013 to 2016, the total ministers under his watch within that period was within 28. Again, the proposed ministers for John Mahama, as he is the 88, I beg your pardon. So the proposed ministers for John Dramani Mahama for his second term, as he is now the incumbent president, is 2025, expected to be 16, and we see how that will go with that. You're still watching ABC News Live. This is ABC Midday, and I am Eric Trinidad-Melo. You're still streaming again on YouTube. You can join us with your conversation and thought over there. Would appreciate it. On to some more news. The president of Imani Ghana and other concerned Ghanaians took the government to the cleaners, saying President Akufo-Addo was only showing that he failed to insist in his promise. He had some ministers with 2 deputies and etc. And, there is also a mad rush and lobbying by some loyal NDC faithfuls in every government for an opportunity to serve after and stay in opposition for 8 long years. We ask who gets to be appointed and who gets to be disappointed in the rise of this catching and attention. But let's take a look at, the circulation of these alleged appointment of some key members and which ministries they will be headed. These are some conversations that have kept, ringing in the minds of some people. We will put that on your screens. But some names have popped up, and people are thinking that these individuals would also be likely to be appointed by the president. But these are just rumors that seem to be circulating on social media. And the names include, I believe I did see the former member of parliament for Ododo-Dio, Honorable Van der Poy. He's been rumored to be occupying the youth and sport ministry. That's not so much confirmed. Other conversations have come up about that. Again, we have cited some articles, publications about a possible appointment by Honorable Jifa Ablagomashi, who probably might be going back again to the tourism ministry and confirm. Now, his competition is Scheme because another individual's name who's popped up is Rex Omah, who has been part of the creative industry, but that is yet to be confirmed, and perhaps we do await the official report by the president. We do know that President Mahama is also set to return, either retain Nana Oye Bampo Adom to the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection as minister, while Dr. Victor Bampo, who is quite the former Deputy Minister of Health, could be elevated to Minister of Health and barring any last-minute changes. Now, Victor Bampo, popularly and charismatic MP in the North Tongue, Samuel Okudzeto Oblakwa also is expected to be elevated from the former deputy ministry to the education ministry. But we do know that these are just reports and circulations until the next report or appointment by the president is confirmed. We also will let you know. But some of the speculations and names that have kept popping up, again, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration also will be going to Joyce Bawa Montari, a lawyer over 24 years standing at the Ghana Bar, and we do know that he also is the special aide to the President John Dramani Mahama, like Shirley Ayoko Boche, who also served as a Kufuor aide for years. Joyce Bawa Montari is reportedly one of the most trusted people around the president, making her, some of the one of the trusted persons or key individuals within the foreign affairs space, which hopefully we would see or know whether or not she will be chosen by the president to occupy that seat. Again, sources saying that the party and offices of the president has told this to some individuals that these names probably, perhaps we should anticipate, because we did hear that Kezi Waterforson will be occupying the finance ministry, and indeed it came to pass. So if this list is anything to go by, probably we actually have a lot to talk about, because some people are questioning the individuals who've been appointed in that particular ministry. But we'll bring you more on that story as and when the president is up with the list. BBC Live, again, we are live on your screens. We're streaming live as well on a YouTube platform. I'm Eric Chinibwa Melom. Once again, we are still discussing the conversations about President's appointment and his nominations. Yesterday, we did speak to some governance expert, Dr. Frederick Oduro, who said the president is not under any duress whatsoever, and he actually is within his prerogative to release any appointment as and when he prescribes. But we also will be having a discussion with Professor Edward Brenya, a political scientist and a policy analyst, a public administration scholar, and a senior lecturer at the Department of History and Political Studies of the Kwame Nkrumah University. Doc, once again, we're grateful for your time that you could join us this afternoon.
Good afternoon.
The conversations about the dynamic institutions of the 60 ministers by the president has raised a lot of concerns. But given the political dynamism, again, I repeat, in Ghana, how realistic is this for the president to maintain 60 ministers or cap, and what potential pressure might push him to exceed with his numbers?
Good afternoon to everyone listeners of ABC News. I think the president made it clear on several occasions, and even during the dinner yesterday, he reiterated his resolve to maintain the 60 ministers. This is not somebody who has not tested the waters before. He's been there, and he knows why he decided on the 60 ministers. And I think that governance is not about only the ministers. It's about getting the right people in place and making sure that they deliver. So if in his own experience and estimation,
he feels that the 60 ministers will be able to deliver the public goods that he's been mandated to deliver, why not? I don't see any pressure pushing him beyond the 60 minutes.
Well, there are some who have argued, for instance, the NPP, who said that even for them, who had quite a larger ministers, there were some challenges. However, this 60 ministerial appointees or appointments will not even solve half of the issues because it comes with a lot of burden. But perhaps I want to take your thought on that first as well.
So, and I also want to equally put a question. What result did we get from the 120 ministers? I'm proud of that. We had others that had 85, some that had 75, and others. And if they were able to achieve whatever they achieved in the governance of Ghana, I don't think that governance is only the ministers. Bear in mind, all these ministers are in charge of a ministry that have chief directors and other seasoned civil servants that they work along with. They are supposed to provide supervisory role and ensuring that whatever decision that they are making is in line with the agenda of the government. So I don't think that it really has to do with the number of people you put in place. Other than that, the countries like US and others will be having 1,000+ ministers because of their population, right? I think it's about the quality of people and the kind of job that you assign them to do. If they experience and they know what to do, probably you might not need that many ministers to be able to deliver. And I think that's exactly what John Dramani Mahama is telling them.
Prof, again, the conversation about some ministries not being necessary or important as it stands now, but you as a political, scientist and a policy analyst as well, which ministries do you feel or you think should be matched or scrapped? Under which government or, sectors are we considering to either be scrapped or matched?
If you are looking at the Ministry of Transport and the Ministry of Railway, why the divisions? It's really not transport, right? Mm-hmm. So some of those ones, certainly, you can have a minister in charge of transport who can deal with all the other aspects of transport, right? You create directors who will be in charge as it has been in the past. And I can talk about several, but I'm using this as an example. So I believe seriously that it is not about, ideally, we would expect that the more you have division of labor, the more you expect efficiency to go up. But in a country that is struggling with resources, in a country where we want to achieve results, I don't think it's about the number, it's about expertise, getting the right people in place. And I think that in the wisdom of the president, he's going to look at ministries that need to be aligned so that we can get the best of the taxpayers' money that is paid for these ministers.
Right, Prof, we're grateful for your time this afternoon.
You're most welcome.
Well, the conversation still lingers as to whether or not which ministry should be matched or scrapped, but Prof has shared his thought on that. Once again, you're still watching ABC Midday Live here on ABC News GH. I'm Eric Trinibuat-Melo. Once again, we're streaming live on the YouTube platform. Your thought and comments, which ministry should be scrapped? And looking at the fact that President John Mahama says he's going to run with 60 government, maybe we should consider certain conversations, but we'll do that again in subsequent and more broadcasts here on your critical matters and conversations topic here on ABC. Again, away from that, Dr. Adomaku Kissi, the former member of parliament for Anyasotium, has shared his perspective on President John Mahama's recent ministerial appointment. Among those named were Dr. Keizaloto Forson as finance minister designate, Dr. Dominic Ayeni as attorney general and minister of justice designate, and John Jinapor as energy minister designate. Dr. Kissi, of former MP, dismissed the appointment as a miniature reshuffle. Speaking earlier on ABC in the morning, he urged that he argued that merely reducing the number of ministries to 16 would not address the country's pressing issue. He pointed out that the root problem lie not in the size of the government, but in poor decisions making and the mismanagement of the resources.
The father for all and the president now elect or president now sworn in should hit the ground running. So my expectations are lowered already. I had high expectations, But based on this approach, I'm worried for a party that proffered bigger, better, faster, efficient solutions. This is a shot to the foot for me, and I'm being a bit objective here. I'm not even being partisan, but I'm just being as to the nomination. I think that we were really hoping that for a government that has been touting 24-hour economy, I was really expecting that President Dramani Mahama would be hitting the ground running. And I was really hoping that after waiting in exile for 8 years, he would have had his I's dotted and his T's crossed already. In fact, a few days ago, I was saying that if, he has the benefit of waiting for 8 years before his second tenure, and that he'll be very clear in his mind as to what he wants to do. But this miniature release, I think, for me, from a political administrative standpoint, I think is not acceptable.
Okay.
Competence is known, but my key point here is that the father for all and the president now elect, or president now sworn in, should hit the ground running. So my expectations are lowered already.
Oh.
I had high expectations, but based on this approach, I'm worried for a party that proffered bigger, better, faster, efficient solutions. This is a shot to the foot for me, and I'm being a bit objective here. I'm not even being partisan, but I'm just being as to the nomination. I think that
well, the minority leader, Mr. Afenyo-Markin, has also been speaking about the presidential ministerial appointment. Let's take a bite at what he also has been speaking here in Parliament.
Opposition, we know more things than those of you in government. So if you ask me, I can tell you, all of you, where you are going. But you don't know. That is how it is. When I know Ama Kofi Bua is going to land. Yeah, you are going to land. Are you scared? Nobody will stop it. If destiny has it for you, you will get it. Why are you scared? Kwame Abuja is going to roads and highways. Yeah, we know Ahmed Ibrahim is going to local government. And a lot of you will remain at the backbench.
Honorable Leader. Honorable Minority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, Honorable Achampo, Mr. Speaker, he has done so well. I will be surprised if he's not sent to the Ministry of Finance as deputy. I will be surprised. I will be surprised. And Dr. Pak is definitely going to education as deputy education minister. Mr. Speaker, we know. That's why I know Honorable Ayariga is going to assume the black chair. And his deputy is my good friend, Kweku Rickett. Because, yes, Kweku is going to be the deputy minority leader. And, Mr. Speaker, once again, majority of them will remain at the backbench.
Honorable Minority Leader.
Anyway, Mr. Speaker.
The issue before the House is whether the adjournment should be on the 16th or 21st.
That is so.
With all due respect.
Mr. Speaker, my good friend, Honorable Abuja, he knows the practice of the House. You can't just come to the floor to make an announcement. You know it.
Let's bring you some business news after this. And in business, the government is expected to borrow approximately 200 billion Ghana cedis from the Treasury bill market in 2025, representing a reduction from the estimated 220 billion Ghana cedis in 2024. According to Data Bank research, this projection reflects an average weekly borrowing of 3.9 billion Ghana cedis, down from 4.2 billion Ghana cedis in the previous year. In its 2025 Ghana Market Outlook report, Data Bank research attributes the decline in its short-term borrowing to improved access to alternative funding sources and a strategic pivot towards long-term securities. This shift aligns with Ghana's broader economic recovery effort and increased access to international financial markets, offering the government greater flexibility in exploring sustainable financial options. The transition to long-term instruments is anticipated to take full effect after the first quarter of 2025. Not just days after President John Dramani Mahama took office, his government is facing a major energy crisis. The government urgently requires nearly $90 million to prevent an impending power shortage caused by independent fuel supplies for thermal plant, according to the Ghana Grid Company, Gridco, in response to Chief of Staff Julius Deborah, who convened an emergency meeting on January 8, 2025 with key energy sectors and stakeholders including Gridco, WAPCO, VRA, GNP, BOST and other power generation companies. This committee has been tasked with developing both immediate and long-term solutions to stabilize the power supply and avoid widespread outages. With a growing concern over the potential impact of the crisis, we took to the streets to hear from local businesses and owners about the consequences if Dumsor were to return. Here's what they had to say.
When there is Dumsor, we can't bring for people. Neither can we do one or two styles. Our money will be going, we the owners of the shop, and if so, we can't pay. If you have rented the shop, we can't pay the shop and other stuff. So the Dumsor should be hold for us for some time. We beg them. Oh, the new government probably can't really do anything that much because the company is not meant for Ghana. It's a private company, so it can't really solve.
Dumsor will affect me seriously because I use electricity in whatever I do here. Without electricity, I cannot work. So you are making me shade because I haven't heard about Dumsor coming. But since you raised this topic, I have to do something about it. The government should do something seriously because without it, we cannot work. The second coming is always not nice. That's the truth, but I'm praying for him so that it will be nice.
Yeah. So Dumsor coming back, it's gonna be a very tough one for we people who do use the electricity very much because we sell the machines here, we repair them. So bringing back Dumsor, it's gonna hurt us the work we do. So I'll urge the president now, Mr. John Dramani Mahama, His Excellency, to help fix the situation we have with electricity. Because Dumsor coming back is gonna hurt. It's gonna worry a lot of people.
We need to strategize our daily activities because if my memory serves me right, during the erstwhile NDC government, that was around 2012 to 2016, we were given a timetable for us to manage our activities. So if that should be the case, then maybe we will get the timetable. We will be able to strategize our daily activities around it. So I think timetable, but like I said earlier, I don't think Dumsor will revisit us again because they are saying that's an issue of just the procurement of gas.
Every say, you won't be paying. So they say, and it's a blessing say, Dumsor is some baby. Never say, my penny was say, a cabio, no one good, and I found ye. Every say, back by no, you won't say, and it's a cabio, Nazis is home Kuya. Now, Mukia, Nase, Edias, Bama. ọmọ ẹ bí ọmọ kan no ọmọ bi jai light ni dum dia then is say ọmọ nkoko tua na ya fi nya ya moto ye die eduma e so nim say tell for there.
And that's all for business, but let's do some more stories. Again, international relations expert Dr. Ishmael Lovo has stated that Ghana's reception of Burkina Faso's leader Ibrahim Traoré does not threaten the country's relation with the Western world. He emphasized that isolating Burkina Faso would be detrimental to Ghana. In an earlier interview with ABC News GH, Dr. Lovo welcomed the effort to engage Traoré, suggesting it demonstrates Ghana's neutrality and lack of opposition to the country. He also stressed that Ghana must maintain a balanced diplomatic approach, avoiding double standards when dealing with leaders like Alassane Ouattara and Ivory Coast leader Traoré.
To witness the inauguration, it was important that we reach out to him and he accepted to come. We didn't contest that Ghana risk a lot if we isolate Burkina Faso. We need to know what's going on there. We need to know, share security intelligence and be able to help them to deal with the terrorist menace that they are having for our own security. So it doesn't help us that much to isolate them. And therefore, I think that the new attempt to bring them on board is welcoming, regardless of whatever the future holds. We need Burkina Faso as a good neighbor. We need their leader to understand that Ghana is not hostile to them, with them. And our relation with other nations within the sub-region does not necessarily influence how they see us. Now, so we're trying to get our neighbors, Burkina Faso, to be friendly doesn't alter our relation with the Western world. It is when we begin to adopt policies at home that they will interpret as hostile to them, that we may begin to have a more strained relation with them. So currently, there is no threat to Ghana's relation with the Western world. Our relation with the Western world remains solid. We, as a sovereign nation, have to balance our relation. And I think that currently, I don't see any threat to Ghana's relation simply because we are engaging a country like Burkina Faso. And that narrative comes from a particular understanding that every military leader is bad and any democratic leader is good. So if we are worried, if we are worried that we are having relations with somebody like Traoré, but we are not worried that we have a relation with somebody like Ouattara. These two people are singing from the same hymn book. If Ouattara changes the constitution and then breach the terms limit, and we don't call it a coup, and this guy, because he carry arms, and you think that he's such an evil person, that is the double standard nature of some of the things that we have done in the sub-region. I recently chatted on the news of Ouattara trying to go for a fourth term. Yet we don't have a problem with that. We don't have a problem with relating to Ouattara because in our mind he won an election regardless of how that election is. And there are many leaders assembled in Accra that day whose things that we have done in the sub-region. I recently chatted on the news of.
Away from that, let's do matters of education. And the National Council of the Parent Teachers Association has said that they are willing to assist the government in the running of the free senior high school program. Speaking on ABC in the morning, Mrs. Sam Irene, the PRO for association, maintained that they are against the scrapping of the free senior high school policy. Hence, they are willing to have a stakeholders engagement to discuss how the cost in running the policy could be responsible or the responsibility of both parent and government. Her statements come after the recurring issue of the free senior high school concerning government debt and shortage of food supplies. Meanwhile, Mrs. Irene Sam, the Deputy PRO for the National Council of the PTA, has also raised concerns about the way CHAS is going about its businesses. And she says that this association has nothing against them. This issue is that CHAS failed to use the right channel to communicate to parents about the challenges facing the various senior high schools. She also added that the association has met and put measures in place to tackle the food crisis and call upon CHAS to work with them. And Mrs. Sam made this statement earlier on ABC in the morning about the food supplies for the awards due to shortage in the senior high schools. And we do also know that the President, John Dramani Mahama, has announced plans to establish a planning committee for the National Education Review Conference, which aims to address challenges and reforms Ghana's educational system. The proposed National Education Review Conference will examine the education system from kindergarten through tertiary, including technical and vocational education. Now, speaking at the National Convention of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Missions, Ghana at Winneba in the Central Region, Mr. Mahama noted that the conference will identify obstacles to quality education at each levels and generate actionable recommendations to address them. Additionally, the President Mahama emphasized the need for targeted interventions to ensure equitable and quality learning. Appointment. And joined on phone is Dr. Peter Anti, the Executive Director of IFES, for a conversation. Doc, we're grateful for your time this afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Well, looks like our education system since last year till now still has been going through some crisis. But just as the President said again yesterday, he's thinking of reforms and bringing some initiative. Let me just pick your initial thought on that. Then we engage on the crisis that seem to be popping up in terms of the quality of food and matters arising. Hello, Doc.
Well, I think that... Hello.
Go on.
Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Yeah, so can you take the question again? You said...
Hello, Doc.
Yes, can you hear me? Please, can you take the question again?
Yeah, so I was asking about the new reforms that President Mahama is suggesting in terms of reviewing certain conditions within the education sector. We do know that as it stands now, the education sector, especially CHAS and its matters arising in terms of the food quality and the conversations about whether or not the free SHS should be scrapped, and parents also fending for the awards due to poor quality of food has become a conversation. But the President yesterday, if you listen to him, he said there are another reforms that he will be bringing on board. But just your quick thought on that, I said.
Yeah, yes, thank you. So I think that is the way to go. I think that they need to understand the extent to which the challenges have engulfed the sector, and then they can now plan as how to move. We move from there. So for me, putting together that committee is relevant and important, and I think that we should all give them when they are inaugurated, we should all give them the needed support and provide any relevant information that we think they would need to be able to provide better recommendations for the improvement in the education sector going forward. Yeah.
But how effective do you think this review or committee would be in terms of solving the key issues that the education sector faces?
How what, please?
I'm asking how effective would this committee or proposed review that he's thinking of embarking on have on the quality of our education system?
Yep. I think he has indicated that we are that particular committee will look at the education sector in its totality. So we are not focusing on only the senior high school or the tertiary institutions or the basic schools. The focus will be on all levels of education. And I think that is important because you cannot isolate a single level of education and do certain interventions. It means that you are neglecting the other side. So in order to improve quality education across all levels, the basic school is needed for the improvement in the secondary school. The secondary schools are needed for improvement in the tertiary institutions, and the tertiary institutions are needed for the overall improvement in the economic growth of the country. So you need a comprehensive understanding of these levels, and then you introduce your own measures to ensure that there is constant improvement in the delivery of education across all these levels. So I think that is surely the way to go. I would not have subscribed to an attempt to just focus on the secondary level because of the free senior high school. No, I think that there should be a comprehensive analysis of the sector, and then a way forward is prescribed going into the near future.
Doc, many have raised concerns that this is just going to be a walk, without really being so much effective. That's why I asked a talk without being so effective, because this is not the first time we have had reviews.
No, technically I don't work like that. So when someone announces a plan and the person have not been able to even begin implementing his plan, we don't go about saying it's not going to be effective. This is a new government. They are barely 1 week in office. There are challenges that they have come to meet. Definitely, they would have to address these challenges. They would need a model to use, and this is a model that they would want to adopt to address these challenges. You should understand that there have been certain reforms in the sector. There are certain things that have been happening in the sector. You cannot just come and say that I'm going this way or that way without understanding what has been done in the sector for the past 8 years, so that you will be able to now strategically find ways and means that you'll be able to address challenges and then move us closer to a strategic plan, which is supposed to end at 2030. So anybody who would at this point in time say that committee is not going to be effective is not being it's just saying whatever he or she thinks. I don't think that's the way to go at all. We need to allow the new government to understand the challenges in the sector and then come out with the ways that they think they'll be able to address these challenges for all of us. And for me, you can't do this except by putting together a team that would understand, that would engage the public to understand where we are and then carry the public to where we are supposed to be going in the near future. And I think that is the way to go.
Well, Doc, we're grateful for your time this afternoon. Dr. Peter Antwi is the Executive Director of IFES. Once again, we do appreciate that you could speak with us. But let's bring you some sports news after this. And in sports, the MTN FA Cup competition centers the round of 32 this coming weekend, with several interesting fixtures to be played in all Premier League duel. Now, Bichim United faces Nations FC, Basake Holy Stars host high-flying BBN Gold Stars, and defending champions in Sotraman FC will also welcome Young Apostles to the Nana in Kronamasa Park. He also recalled the FC. Accra Hearts of Folk will also play host to Division 1 outfit and Home Stars, while Kumasi Asante Kotoko engage Accelerate FC at the Baba Yara Sports Stadium. 2022-2023 FA Cup Championship. Dreams FC play away to True Democracy at the Ni J Kwoko Sport Complex at Tema, and the Temamanhia. A number of all divisions, one league battles provide further intrigue to the competition, with Cape Coast Mysterious Dwarf looking horns with Second D 11 Wise, and Doma Unity FC facing off with Techima Liberty, and PAC Academy taking on King Faisal FC. We're back with some international updates. Wildfires raging across Los Angeles have claimed at least 10 lives and destroyed nearly 10,000 structures, with 5 fires continuing to burn into a third night as strong desert winds fanned the flames. The Palisades fire between the Santa Monica and Malibu and the Eastern fire near Pasadena have become the most destructive in the city's history. Together, they have scorched over 34,000 hectares, and also reducing the entire neighborhood to ashes. The Los Angeles County Medical Examiner confirmed the rising death toll late Thursday, while Sheriff Robert Luna warned the numbers might increase further, describing the devastation as akin to an atomic bomb aftermath. The financial toll is staggering, with AccuWeather estimating damages between $135 billion and $150 billion. Now, this includes property losses, recovery efforts, and increased insurance costs. The Palisades fire is only 6% contained, while the Eastern fire remains uncontained, having destroyed or damaged about 9,300 structures combined. We are back with some entertainment updates. Renowned US-based Ghanaian gospel musician and preacher Sonny Badu has prophesied that President John Dramani Mahama is destined to become a pastor. Sonny Badu, founder of the Rock Hill Church in the USA, stated that Mahama has fulfilled his comeback mission and is poised to embark on a spiritual journey. In an Instagram post today, Sonny Badu wrote, quoting, "Now that His Excellency has fulfilled the comeback mission, there is one more hurdle to overcome. Call it a prophecy. His Excellency will soon be ordained as a pastor. He might become the first pastor to serve as a president. Congratulations in advance," quote. Now, this follows Mahama's grand inauguration at Ghana's president on Tuesday, January 7 at the Black Star Square in Accra. The event drew thousands of Ghanaians, dignitaries, and global leaders, underscoring Ghana's commitment to democratic governance. We hope to see President Mahama again become a prophet or a pastor. Well, that's according to prophets or Pastor Sonny Badu. But that's all for the package this afternoon. I'm Eric Chinibwamado. It has been a pleasure coming your way this afternoon. Do well to catch us again at 6 for another edition of the news. Do have a good afternoon.